There we go. Super. Thank you, everyone. So I will stick with tradition and I will start you lying down. So get yourself comfortable and remember that if you feel that you need to bend your knees to support the lower back, then listen to that little prompt. Don't force yourself to extend the legs and then start to be distracted by that little ache in the lower back or between the hips. Play about with how wide you want the arms to be. If you have extended the legs, whether you want to separate the feet hip width distance apart, whether you feel that you might need to roll the knees together just to widen the space at the lower back. Try turning the palms up towards the ceiling. And this brings us to a gesture of receptivity, ready to receive, ready to release any tension, and to bring your full attention to the breath. Imagine that with every out breath, you're traveling through the length of the body, releasing tension where you find it, softening the eyebrows, relaxing the temples, feeling the ears become heavy, unclenching the jaw, softening the tongue in the well of the mouth, finding that optimum space for the back of the neck. Allowing the weight across the shoulder blades to sink a little more deeply into the earth beneath you. Releasing the length of the arms, softening the fingers, tracing that natural line, the shape of the spine, allowing for that gentle lift in the lower back. And again, becoming conscious of that weight at the back of the hips, feeling the whole of your upper body completely released and relaxed. Pay particular attention to unclenching the abdomen, softening the space between the hips, relaxing the thighs, the calves, softening the ankles, feeling the weight of the feet, heavy and released. That sense of giving the weight of your full body to the earth beneath you, releasing your body of any tension, maintaining your full awareness on the breath. Feeling the cool air from the tip of the nose along the nasal passages. Aware that that cool air, your every inhalation, serves to nourish and energize the body, preparing every muscle, every fibre in your body for the work of our practice today. Recognize that every out-breath is a reminder to let go, to unclench, to release. This is a time for quiet, for simply tuning into the breath. And as you feel the body release and let go, invite the mind to quiet. maintaining your full focus on the breath. Deepening the inhalation and lengthening the exhalation. Fill the lungs completely. Then empty the lungs fully. Ease the breath towards a pattern of a deep breath in for one full count, filling the lungs, expanding and widening. Then emptying the lungs over a count of 3. Inhaling deeply, expanding into the space that surrounds you. Exhaling again over that count of 3. Widening and expanding on the inhale. Fully releasing and letting go on the exhale. Continue with this pattern of deepened, lengthened breath. Mindfully breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. Softening the edges of that out breath now, so that it feels like one continual release. Take a further deep breath in through the nose, this time exhaling with an audible sigh. If you feel that you wish to repeat this step, then give yourself the time and space to do so. Then when you feel ready, ease yourself back to that natural, easy rhythm. So you don't feel you're forcing the breath. Allowing inhale to naturally follow exhale. No effort. And becoming aware again of your space within this room. Noticing the texture of your clothing against your skin. Feeling the cool air in this room against your face, your hands, and your feet. Taking a few moments now to slowly return sensation to the physical body. Stretching the fingers wide, wriggling the toes, drawing the fingers in towards the palms to make fists, squeezing the shoulders up towards the ears. Then as you exhale, soften the shoulders, open the hands, relax the fingers. Inhale to point the toes as far away from the body as you can feel. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in and flex the toes towards the shins, pressing through the heels. As you inhale, point the toes away again. Then on the exhale, relax the ankles, soften the feet, and again feel the weight of your body sink into the floor. On the next full in-breath, lift the arms overhead, pointing through the fingers, pointing through toes, taking a long stretch through the body. Now bring the thumbs together in an interlock. Draw the toes once more in towards the shins to create flexion. Then on an out breath, push the upper body to the right, turning your gaze gently over the left shoulder, allowing a little space here to the left of the rib cage, a little lift and opening into the left of the waist. Exhale to engage the core. Inhale to return to center. Separate the hands again, point through the toes to take once more that full body stretch. Then come back to that interlock, the feet in flexion, pushing the upper body to the left side, turning your gaze over that right shoulder, expanding into that space at the right of the rib cage. Then inhaling to return to center, taking a further full body stretch. On the exhale, hug the right knee towards the chest, placing the hand to the shin, allowing that little added pressure to create space through the lower back, across the back of the hips. Then inhale again to lengthen. On the exhale, hug the left knee in. Again, the hand to the shin, that little extra pressure, widening the space in the lower back. Then rather than releasing that leg, draw both knees in, hugging the knees towards the chest, gently rocking through the back of the hips, turning that rock into a figure of 8, widening that space in the lower back. Then releasing the hands from the knees and widening the arms to create a T shape, palms turned up towards the ceiling. On an out breath, rolling the knees to the right side and turning your gaze along the length of the left arm. So initially you might notice that left shoulder spring up from the floor. So let's take a few breaths to focus on releasing that shoulder back to the mat. Every inhalation finding the space at the side of the ribcage. Every exhalation softening the jaw, releasing the shoulder. Visualizing the breath traveling from fingertip to fingertip. Then as you exhale, engage the core once more, supporting the lower back as you draw the knees through center and take the knees to the opposite side, this time turning your gaze along the length of the right arm. Again, a few moments to soften the shoulder back and down, to find that space in the side of the ribcage. Every out breath, a release. Every in-breath, charging your body, filling your body with positive energy. On this next exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll the knees again towards center. Reposition the hands either side of the hips. Then we'll position the knees directly above the hips, pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. So creating a 90-degree angle with the knees. And if you find that this creates too much lift in the lower back, you might find it comfortable to just draw the thighs a little closer to the chest. Maintain this 90-degree angle at the knees. Every out breath tugging the tummy button towards the spine, filling that little natural gap in the lower back. Inhaling now to lift the arms overhead. Palms are positioned shoulder width apart. Again, we want to feel that connection through the flats of the shoulder blades. So let the weight of the arms sink back towards the shoulders. Every exhale, draw the tummy button in rather than allowing the lower back to ping up from the floor. Keep that core engagement. On the next exhale, slide the thumbs back and rest the thumbs an inch from the floor. Widen the arms a little. Hover the thumbs an inch from the mat. Every exhale, engage the core. Keep that left knee at 90 degrees as you extend the right leg forward now, hovering the heel an inch from the floor, keeping both feet in flexion so that we're switched on. So rather than overloading the core, the lower back, we're using those muscles in the thighs. Inhaling to point the right toe, exhaling to flex. Inhaling to point, exhaling to flex. Bringing that right knee back to 90 degrees, nudging a little closer if you feel the lower back is lifting as you lower the left heel to an inch from the floor. Wide through the chest, engaged through the core. Inhaling to point the toe, exhaling to flex. Inhaling to point, exhaling to flex. Maintaining that core engagement as you slide that left knee back. So once more, we find ourselves back at that 90-degree angle, that core engaged, sliding the arms directly above the shoulders once more, softening the shoulders back to the mat. Then hugging the knees to the chest and just allowing a release, just in case we've built up any tension through the lower back. As you return to center, replace both feet on the floor. Let's make sure that the heels are hip width apart, that the insides of the feet are parallel. Feel that weight through the back of the hips, that connection through the soles of the feet. Once more, reposition the palms either side of the hips, palms turned up to the ceiling, shoulders relaxed back and down. On the next out breath, draw the tummy button in, pushing the lower back to the floor. On the in breath, lift and lengthen through the right leg. Draw that toe in towards the shin and push a little more keenly through the heel. Likely to feel that quite tight through the back of the leg, perhaps into the knee. So we'll work gently to find a little more space here. Inhaling to point, exhaling to flex, pushing again through the heel. Then bringing both hands in an interlock behind that right thigh to support the weight of the leg. Avoid pushing into the left foot, keeping the weight of the hips attached to the floor. On the next out breath, drawing the right thigh a little closer to the chest. Let's see if we can iron out that little bend in the knee. So pushing through the heel, inhaling to point, exhaling to flex. Inhaling to point, exhaling to flex. Then hug that right knee in towards the chest, applying a little pressure to the shin. Then replace that right foot to the floor. Hands once more either side of the hips as we lift and lengthen through the left leg. So again, we'll work through the ankle initially, pointing and flexing, finding a little more space at the back of the calf. Then the name of the game is to bring the foot to flexion, push a little more keenly through the heel, start to open out that space at the back of the thigh. Again, it might feel tight. Let's use the hands in an interlock behind that left thigh to support the weight of the leg, reminding ourselves to keep the hips fully weighted to the floor, pressing through the heel. Then every out breath, just nudging the thigh a little closer to the chest. On the in breath, pushing a little more keenly through the heel, warming into that space at the back of the hamstring. Then on the exhale, hug that left knee in, hand to the shin. Then replace that foot again to the floor. Reposition the hands one last time, either side of the hips. Walk the feet a little closer to the bottom. So effectively we're making a steeper angle at the knees, making sure we keep that little hip width distance between the feet. Then push down into the soles of the feet and lift the bottom from the floor. Press the shins forward, lift the thighs a little higher. Find a little space here through the front of the body. Notice if all your weight has tipped back to the shoulders and try to even out and balance that weight, pressing the shins forward, lifting the thighs a little higher. Bringing the hands now to an interlock behind the lower back. So we find that space through the chest, widening through the collarbones, pressing the shins forward. Then separate the hands and work through the next out breath to gently roll down through the spine, easing vertebra by vertebra back to the floor. feeling that gentle connection, noticing without judgment any places where the spine feels a little fused. Then bring the full weight at the back of the hips to release and hug both knees again towards the chest. A little figure of 8 once more. Then replace both feet to the mat. Take your time to roll the knees to whichever side feels most natural to you, pausing there for a moment. Then bringing yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. So rather than staying seated today, we'll come straight into an all fours position. Wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips, tummy button drawn in, wide through the collarbones. Turn both toes under. And I quite like when we get to this point of turning the toes under, really stretching out through the feet. We tend to keep the feet quite tight. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll up through the spine and nod the chin towards the chest. If you're holding on to any tension in the lower back, chances are we'll create a better curve between the shoulder blades. So really focus on lifting the tummy button, tucking the tailbone down. Then release back into a neutral spine. Soften the tops of the feet to the floor now. Then inhale to open the chest forward, curving the spine the opposite way, drawing the shoulder blades together. Exhaling now to engage the core, returning to that neutral spine position. Walking both hands forward, pressing the palms to the mat, then pushing the sit bones back towards the heels, lowering the ears down between the upper arms. Again, you want to feel that even connection, equally weighted through the palms, pressing the sit bones towards the heels. So we're opening into that space at the side of the ribcage. On the next inhalation, lift the fingertips from the mat. Press the wrists to the floor. Visualize those little windscreen wipers as you wipe the hands from one side to the other. Then replace the palms to the mat. Lower down onto the elbows. Lift the chest forward as you slide the thighs to the mat. Shoulder blades drawn together. Inhaling to lift the sternum forward. Exhaling to firstly turn and look over one shoulder. Then inhale to look ahead. Exhale to look over the other shoulder. Then inhale to look ahead. On the out breath, lower down. Bring the forehead towards the floor. Draw the right knee towards the heel towards the bottom. Take hold of that right ankle. Take care not to pull the heel out to one side. So line up the heel again with the sit bone. Apply a little pressure to draw the foot closer to the bottom. Wide through the chest. Push into the left forearm and inhale to lift the chest. As you exhale, release. Bring that right forearm forward. Draw the left heel in. Take hold of the left ankle. Again, realign, stacking the heel above the sit bone. Inhaling now to press into the right forearm, lifting the chest, toggling that heel a little closer to the bottom, enjoying that deeper release through the front of the thigh into the hip flexor. Release that foot to the floor. Reposition the hands either side of the chest. Let's tuck those elbows in towards the ribcage, push into the palms and inhale to lift the chest, keeping the elbows soft here. On an out breath, engage the core, push the sit bones back again towards the heels, back into that Utthita Balasana, that extended child's pose. Engage the core, inhale to lift back up into your all fours position, knees once more stacked under the hips. Stretch the right leg back, turn the toe under, push through the heel, and let's press away any tension in the calf and the back of the knee, opening out once more into the sole of the right foot. Bring that knee back in under the hip, extend the left leg back, turn the toe under, pressing through the heel. Then again, we'll bring that knee in. Let's take the knees wide now. So we'll keep the tips of the toes touching, almost as though we make a diamond shape. We'll release the forearms back to the floor. Bring the tips of the thumbs together. So there's a real connection circular around the body and a connection into the floor beneath you. On the next out breath, push the sit bones back towards the heels. You may find that you have the space here to lower the forehead to the floor. Every out breath, releasing a little more deeply into the space between the thighs. Then push down into the palms, lift yourself back to center, reposition the hands under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. Turn both toes under. Keep those elbows soft as you push the sit bones back. We'll keep the knees bent as we lift the knees from the floor. Press the heels towards the mat. Lift the tailbone wide through the collarbones. Every out breath, finding the floor with the heels. Then on the next exhale, lowering the shins to the floor. Resting on the tops of the feet and bringing one fist on top of the other to let the forehead relax here. Rolling through the forehead to bring one ear parallel to the floor. Taking that through center, bringing the opposite ear parallel to the floor. Bringing the forehead back to center again. Then repositioning the hands to the mat, lifting up once more into the all fours. You might find you need to reset the knees hip width apart, keeping the elbows soft. Turning both toes under, lifting up again. This time, rather than keeping the knees strictly bent, we'll just allow a little space behind the kneecaps, bending the right knee to push the left heel to the floor, then switching over to push the right heel to the floor. So gently working through the heels to slowly find a little space at the back of the legs, again into the soles of the feet. Finding a point to press both heels to the floor, inhaling to lift the tailbone, opening the thighs towards the back of the room. Focusing on the breath. Inhale again for that one full count. Exhaling to a count of 3, 2, and 1. Inhaling again to one full count. Exhaling for 3, 2, and 1. One last time, deep breath in. A full exhalation. Then lower down. Returning once more to your child's pose. This time, rather than the extended child's pose, bring the wrists either side of the ankles, and we'll just release that tension from the wrists. So rotating little circles. Forehead may be resting, it may be floating, whatever suits you, feels comfortable. Then bring the hands back again under the shoulders and lift yourself up just for a moment into this hero pose position. So in our hero pose, take a moment to just spread any padding from the bottom. I physically have to lift it up so that I can feel the bony parts of the bottom kind of connect into the heels. Roll the shoulders back and down. Engage the core. And the most important thing in this posture is to make sure that we manage what's going on in the lower back. So gently press the tailbone down between the heels and keep that sternum lifted up off of the belly. Wonderful. Christine, you're doing really well with your knees there. Extend both arms forward. Push through the fingertips. Inhale to lift both arms overhead. You can keep a Y position if this feels tight through the shoulders. And just notice that as soon as we lift the arms, feel if it takes that curve again in the back. Draw the tummy button in, tuck the tailbone under. Push down into the shins, lift and lengthen. Bring the palms together now so that we're into an Anjali Mudra overhead. We can feel the ears between the upper arms. Again, we don't want to get into that bad habit of curving the spine. So tuck the tailbone under, draw the tummy button in. That gives us more length through the upper body. As you exhale, keep the core engaged. Bring the hands back to heart center. We'll step the right foot forward. So we'll give ourselves a little bit of an obtuse angle to start with. That gives us some space to travel into. On the out breath, lean into that front knee. So come into a 90-degree angle and feel that back thigh open a little deeper to give you space through the front of the hip flexor. On an inhale, lift the arms up overhead. On an exhale, engage the core and bring the hands back to heart. Hinge forward now, bringing both palms towards the mat, turning the back toe under, lifting that back shin and attempting to press that back heel to the floor. I'm not going to promise it's easy, but we've been working a little on that space at the back of the leg, so let's just keep exploring that release. Draw the shoulder blades together. Let's keep that left hand under the shoulder. Turn the belly in towards the right thigh and follow your gaze so that we're looking up to the middle finger of the right hand. That gives a nice deep stretch to the right side of the buttock into the hip. Every out breath, releasing. Every in breath, opening the rib cage a little more deeply into this twist, finding space. Then on the next exhale, Nicola, other way, sweetheart. Bring that left hand to the floor, take the right hand up. No wonder it feels weird. Then replace that hand to the floor. Keep that left foot turned under as you kick the right foot back. Come into a plank posture, wide through the collarbones. So I've got news for you that in August, I'd like us to do a plank every day. So it doesn't have to be a 2-minute plank every day. It can be a 10-second, a 30-second plank, whatever floats your boat. But let's try to rebuild that strength, that confidence in the core, that strength in the upper body. Then as you exhale, lower down onto the knees, onto the chest and the chin. Elbows are tucked in towards the rib cage. Inhaling again to lift the chest. Then pushing back and resting again in that child's pose. Allow for that release in the lower back. So finding weight in the sit bones, widening through the back of the hips, softening the space at the back of the neck. Then lift back up into that all fours position. Beautiful. So we'll now bring the left leg forward. If you remember when we did this on the other side, we started with a slightly obtuse angle here. So that means that as we ease our weight forward, we're deepening into this hip flexor, into the front of the thigh, and we're not detracting from that 90-degree angle. Bring the hands in front of the heart, shoulders back and down. Inhale to lift the arms overhead, keeping the shoulders relaxed. And again, avoid too much curvature in the lower back. Lift the sternum ever so slightly. Then on the out breath, engage the core, hinge forward, turning that back toe under, lifting the knee. And then again, the intention here is to bring that heel to the floor. So really exploring that space at the back of the calf, lengthening without putting undue pressure on the back of the knee joint. Now we'll keep the right palm under the right shoulder. So the action is always that we bring the belly in towards the thigh rather than turning away. Then lift that left hand up. We're looking up again to the middle finger of that left hand. So we're working with the breath, finding space in the rib cage. So if you visualize an exhale to engage the core, on your next inhale, see if we can twist a little more deeply into this space. Finding that deeper stretch to the side of the hip. Then replace that palm to the floor. Strike the left foot back. We're back into a plank position. Just checking technique here. Wrists under shoulders, elbows relaxed, wide through the collarbones, engaged through the core. And you may have chosen to lift the bottom a little. Just be mindful that it's not too high. Remain wide through the collarbones, engage the core. Then push yourself up into a full downward facing dog position. On the next out breath, release those heels to the floor. On the in breath, lift the tailbone. Push the thighs to the back of the room. Keep the back of the neck soft. And again, we'll return to that 3-part breath. Inhaling deeply. Exhale. Deep inhale. 3-part exhale. Deep inhale. Another full exhalation. One further inhalation. On the exhale now, bend the knees, sit back on the heels. Reposition the hands either side of the ankles. Bring the forehead to the floor. If that feels too far, you can stack the forehead on top of the hands. My preference is to keep the hands either side of the ankles, just to release the wrists a little, drawing little circles. Then replacing the hands under the shoulders, engaging the core, pushing back up again to where we started our hero pose. Bring both hands behind the lower back, finding an interlock position here. If this becomes too intense on the knees, at any point lift the bottom from the heels or stick a little cushion under the butt. Shoulder blades drawn together, taking care again not to arch the spine, so keep that tailbone seeking down. Then let's draw the hands away from the lower back and open through the heart space. Just be mindful that we're not using the chin to find extra space. We're not trying to win the race. You know the way people do that over the finish line? Oh, if I push my chin forward. Bring that chin in, relax the back of the neck. Lower the hands back to the lower back. Let's bring the hands to an Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Shoulders back and down. Pushing once more into the shins. Making sure that we feel that hip width distance between the knees. If the knees are together, we're going to feel a little imbalanced. Pressing the weight into the shins, so pushing the top of the feet to the floor. Core engaged. Inhale to lift the arms up overhead. Shoulders released back and down. Press the thighs forward, lift the gaze up towards the thumbs and allow for a gentle easing, opening the belly, the chest towards the ceiling. Then as you exhale, engage the core, hinge all the way forward, palms to the mat again, turning both toes under, exhale, drawing the tummy button in, rolling up through the spine, nodding the chin to the chest. Then relaxing again in that all fours position. Perfect. Let's rest on the top of the feet. Lift back up. Bring your right foot forward. Place the hands on the shin. Turn the left toe under and then step up. Nicely done. So now please come towards the front of your mat so that we're using the full length of your mat behind you. I'm going to start with hands on hips. I always like to feel that my hips are in the same place as my shoulders. So often in these linear positions, if the hips are ever so slightly out of alignment, the shoulders follow and it puts a little torque on the lower back. So if you're twisting to look at the screen, you might be better just adjusting your mat so that you're facing straight forward. So take the right foot back. Make sure that the feet are at least hip width apart. There's no point in stacking one foot behind the other, you'll just lose your balance. And then we'll gently lower that right heel to the floor. We'll gently iron out that bend in the front knee. So we're kind of making a scissor shape with the legs. Now on an exhale, lead with the sternum and try to keep the shoulders parallel to the floor as you hinge forward, finding a straight line from the back of the head to the tailbone. Because we have the left foot forward, we'll take the right arm forward, keep the left hand on the hip, and then lead with the fingertips to perhaps come a little more deeply into this release. So again, you're keeping that straight line from the back of the head to the tailbone, but it's going to be harder work on the back of that front thigh. So if you need a little softness in the knee, by all means take it. As you exhale, engage the core, replace the hand to the hip. As you inhale, lift the chest, then step the feet together. Take the opposite foot back. And again, remember, you will benefit from a little bit of width here. Replacing that back heel to the floor. Ironing out that bend in the front knee, not locking it out, but certainly softening that. Then on and out breath. Once more coming into that forward fold. Shoulder blades drawn together. Collarbones parallel to the floor. Extending the left arm forward now. As you press through the fingertips, see if that gives you a little more length to the spine. We don't want that to compromise that square action of the shoulders and the hips. But you will find that it'll just fine tune that little extra stretch to the back of the right thigh. Then on and out breath, engage the core, bring the hand back to the hip. On an in breath, unhinge as you stand back to center. Re-step the feet together. Knees remain soft, hands on the hips for now. Hinge the chest forward. So it's a 90-degree angle once more at the hips. Lifting the tailbone ever so slightly to lengthen the back of the thighs. And watching if the toes curl up. My toes always curl up when I do that. So spread the toes. Almost feel as though that space in the instep is pulling down towards the earth. Notice what you're doing with your head. Keep the back of the head lined up with the tailbone and avoid straining the neck. Now push the sit bones to the back of the room. Lift the tailbone ever so slightly. Oh, the hamstrings are loving this. Now bring the hands around the elbows. And then exhale, bringing the belly to rest on the thighs, bringing the forearms parallel to the floor, tucking the chin under. And we're just going to hang in this position. Every out breath, a little deeper release. On the in breath, lifting the tailbone. Again, ironing out that little bend in the knees. Then we'll use the hands on the thighs rather than rolling up through the spine, engage the core. You can push into the thighs to aid that unhinge, to lift the chest. Perfect. Inhale to lift both arms up overhead. Press through the fingertips. Again, just watch what happens with the spine here. We tend to naturally just hinge back. We let gravity take over. So our intention is to keep pushing the thighs back, tucking the tailbone under, reaching through the fingertips. Pivoting forward now onto the balls of the feet, lifting the heels from the floor. Then releasing the hands down in front of the chest, bringing the thumbs together in an interlock, keeping those heels lifted, pushing the sit bones back and lowering down. Go as far as you can into a deep squat position. Lovely. Oh, pity we didn't have a little beanbag or something behind you there, Michelle. You on the gin already at this time in the morning? I've set her off now, she'll never get her balance back. Keep that core engaged, keep the heels up, then inhale, lift up. Keep the heels up, exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up. Oops. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. Let's do a few more of these. The focus is on the balance, obviously, because we've got the heels up off the floor. If you tune into the breath, it will make this job a lot easier. And if you think about the muscle groups that are working to support you, so that core engagement on the way down, then that power in the thighs as you press up. Let's do one more set. Inhale to lift up, then lower the heels to the floor and release the hands either side of the hips. Perfect. I'll turn to face you. Squeeze both shoulders up towards the ears, then roll the shoulders back and down. So we're making little circles with the shoulders, bending the elbows now to bring the hands onto the shoulders. So we're taking those circles a little wider. Inhale to lift both arms up. On the exhale, we've got left arm coming forward, right arm going back. Keeping the hips and the shoulders square, the knees soft. Extend and lengthen overhead once more. Then opposite action with the opposite arm. So one forward, one back. Or simply just dance the DISCO, whatever floats your boat. YMCA, YMCA, YMCA. Bring the hands back to the heart. That was a challenge. Okay, so back to a little focus on balance. So notice that the heels have not come together, that we're still at that nice comfortable hip width distance apart, that the knees are soft, and that you can feel that the hips are gently weighted over the heels. If you allow your weight to come forward, it will knock you off your balance. So line up the back of the head with the heels, keep the core engaged. I prefer hands in front of heart. I can focus on that center line of energy. Imagine that you're opening out through the sole of the left foot as you lift the right knee as high as the hip, underside of the foot parallel to the floor. So as adults, we have a tendency when we're balancing to look down. If you kind of watch kids when they're learning to walk, they always look straight ahead to the horizon point. So try to keep your gaze focused on the horizon. Use the big toe to draw 3 circles in, and take those circles the opposite way. Then replace that foot to the floor. Soften the hands for a moment. Flick the hands, relax the shoulders, a bit of a shake. Focus on the breath. Whenever we do balance, we hold the breath. Let's open the right foot now and lift the left knee. So again, your preference where your hands are, they can either be here or here, even here if you wish. I just want everything to be quiet today. Then use the big toe to draw those circles in and out. Replacing that foot to the floor. I'll turn side on again. We're going to keep the heels on the floor. I'm going to replace the hands either side of the hips. We're coming into an awkward or chair pose position. So make sure there is space between the knees so that we can sink the sit bones back. Reposition the hands in front of the heart. And work with the breath. Every exhale, pushing the sit bones, bringing the underside of the thighs parallel to the floor, shoulder blades drawn together, And again, where we can, a nice straight line from the back of the head to the tailbone. Every out breath and release, a letting go. Every in breath, recharging your body. Now release the hands either side of the calves, shoulder blades drawn together. Exhale, draw the tummy button in. Inhale to push into the soles of the feet and lift yourself back to a standing position. Perfect. I'm going to bring both arms overhead. With the right hand, take hold of the left wrist. Then we're just gently going to pull that arm a little longer, so that opens out the space in the underarm at the side of the rib cage. And on an exhale, come over, turning the gaze up to that left corner of the room. Then inhaling back to center, opposite hand to opposite wrist. So we lengthen, then release, and turn the gaze up. Then inhale back to center, separate the hands, and let the hands relax either side of the hips. Turn the palms forward. So again, we're in that gesture of receptivity. Make sure that you feel comfortable through the feet, through the hips. So if you need to squeeze the heels a little wider, then do so. Soften the knees. The intention here is to bring the pelvis into that good mountain pose posture. So visualize this, the pelvis as a bowl. And when you're ready, just gently close the eyes. So with the eyes closed, you're bringing your awareness again to the shape that you make. So naturally, you may be tipping the chin up towards the ceiling. Try to bring the underside of the chin parallel to the floor. The top of the head parallel to the ceiling. Focus on the breath. And it's perfectly natural here when the eyes are closed and we're stood up to feel as though you're gently swaying forwards and back or side to side. Just go with whatever feels natural to you. Try to keep that awareness of the back of the head and the heels creating a straight line. And again, recruit those core muscles to support the big joints in the body. So every out breath, drawing the tummy button in. Every in breath, lifting the rib cage up off of the belly. Trying not to lock the knees out, but rather keeping the knees soft. And perhaps visualizing a tightening through the front of the thighs, lifting the kneecaps up towards the hips. And if you feel that that draws you forward, then engage the core and lean the weight of the back of the head to line up with the heels again. Bring your full awareness to the breath, slowing the breath down. Inhaling deeply to fill the lungs. Exhaling fully to empty the lungs. Let's come back to that 3-part release. So a deep breath in to expand and widen. Then exhaling to a count of 3, 2, and 1. Inhaling deeply to expand. Exhaling fully to release. Once more, that deep breath in to expand. That full exhalation, let it all go. Mindfully breathe in through the nose. If it feels comfortable for you, release that breath through the mouth. in through the nose and out through the mouth. One further deep breath in. This time release with an audible sigh. Again, ease your way back to that natural, easy rhythm. Bringing your hands back to an Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Just gently bringing that energy back to center again. Feeling that line of energy from the top of the head all the way down to under the soles of the feet. And taking a moment to blink the eyes open. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Wonderful. So you should now be feeling energized and ready to do your day, except I've possibly jiggered your legs.